Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can't help but notice that there are no other crimes outlined in our rules, right? Like Title IX is a law, and which means that violating it is violating the law. So I just think it's kind of interesting that we have to specifically put in to our rules that we as people who make the laws shouldn't break them within the room of this house, right? Like that seems a little weird. Also, I think it's interesting that this is really the only crime that's included in here. For me personally, for those of us in this room who have not experienced harassment, assault, or sexual trauma in any way, I'm so happy for you. But we know statistically, most of our sisters are having these problems. When we're coming to you and saying, we don't feel as safe as the other men, as the other people in this chamber, we expect that you're gonna take that seriously when making the rules, right? Sexual assault, harassment, trauma is like having 10 broken fingers. I say this all the time. You have 2 broken hands, you're useless, you're emotional, you're in pain all the time, and you just have to sit there and wait till it all heals. And if you have to sit there in a room directly beside the person who's been harassing you and making your life difficult, constantly having to defend yourself to the media, saying that you weren't asking for it just because you guys were hanging out within the chamber or outside of. You don't have to constantly shoot down rumors that maybe she's exaggerating, maybe it wasn't that bad. We've heard from a number of people on the leadership team that they don't feel that this is necessary. It's redundant, I've heard. It's a waste of time. And if the person who is saying these things is also going to be the person hiring the investigator to look into my sexual harassment, that gives me concern because they've already said that they don't care, they don't think it's a big deal, and it's not a big deal to them. A lot of you have daughters, all of you have mothers, some of you have wives. That shouldn't be the reason that you do this, but you should know full well that if you decide that women who are brave enough to come out and share their stories don't deserve a fair shake and a fair investigation by an impartial outside group, you're saying that you don't believe them when they come home with that story. So I want you to think about that when you're voting. I want you to think about what if it was your wife in this chamber begging for safety, begging for the same decency and respect that you men in suits and ties get just by showing up. Imagine that it was your wife or your daughter, and then tell me that you would vote exactly the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.